Well, I'm going in. I'm gonna have my breakfast, start some bread. I am making some sourdough bread this morning, and I'm gonna add some rosemary, some of my sun-dried tomatoes, a little bit of oat bran, wheat flour, and regular flour. I do like to grind my own grains, but I don't have any right now. And I want to have flour with my ham dinner, or I want to have bread with my ham dinner. This is my sourdough starter. You can't see it, but it's really nice and bubbly. It smells good. If that's any lighter, a little. And because I'm using wheat and some oat bran, the sourdough doesn't rise as well as just white. So I will be adding a tablespoon of vital wheat gluten. I get this at the bulk section at my co-op. 2 cups of wheat flour. 1 cup of white flour, and I'll probably be adding some more. I'll show you in a minute. And then I did just feed my starter. Wipe up the mess I made. Before it dries, because then it's like glue. And need some water. Alright, what else? Salt, olive oil, two teaspoons of salt. And I always put that on top of all the flour and the starter under the flour. So I'm not mixing salt into the starter to begin with because salt and yeast don't mix well. And about a 1/2 cup of oat bran. I just eyeball it. What the palm of my hand is about a 1/4 cup. And then a few sprigs of rosemary. so good. Whoa. Well, guess we're not gonna use those. Well, when I went and opened up the sun-dried tomatoes, and they are getting a little old because I didn't do any this year, there's some moss in there, so I guess we won't be having that. Rosemary and olive oil it is. I do about 2 tablespoons of this really good olive oil. And then initially, to start mixing, I use the paddle and I mix all of the ingredients really good. And then once it starts thickening up, I switch it out with the dough hook and knead it. And I'll take you through that. Okay. Got it all locked in. I'm just starting to mix it. I'll add the water, just a little bit at a time, because you can't take it back out once it's in there. Starting to come together to form a dough. This is what it looks like right now. Gonna let that knead for probably about 10 minutes. And normally I would have had to add more flour or sometimes water, but it looks like I got everything just right this time, because see the sides of the bowl are all clean. That's how you can tell that you've added enough flour and water. I'm going to need these at all. I'm just going to let that knead for 10 minutes, and then I'll come back when I'm ready to show you the next step. How do you know when it's done being kneaded? We're about halfway done, and I just wanted to show you something. So when you look at the dough and you kind of pull it like this, see how it's shaggy? That's how you know it's not done. It's not even ready for the window pane test yet. This is from my last batch of bread, and I'm going to be cutting some up to make with my breakfast. And this is the beeswax wrap. Have you guys heard of this? It's awesome. I have made some before, but this is way better. It smells like honey. My daughter got it for me for Christmas. And it really keeps the bread nice. Okay, so now we're going to try the window pane test. So you take a little chunk and you just kind of slowly pull it apart. Just see if you can get it to stretch to like a transparency without tearing. And it's tearing, so it's not quite there, but it's close. I like bread dough. And I don't know if you can see it with the mirror, or the camera, but it's now, there's spots here that I can see through as I stretch. And yes, it is tearing eventually, but I can see through. So I know, it's so bad. So it's ready for me. I'm just gonna get it into a nice ball, oil it, and cover this bowl with plastic wrap. Usually probably about 6 hours. And so we'll come back then and I'll show you the next step. I cover it with plastic wrap this time of the year because it's so dry in here that the top would dry out and seal off before it would even be able to rise. Our deck eggs have been a real blessing this winter. Normally, the spring chickens that I have, they lay, but this year they didn't. They're all starting to lay now, but I've never had a winter where I didn't at least get a few every week. So I'm really glad that we got the ducks because I've still had plenty of eggs. I like to add a few cherry tomatoes to my fried egg, and then I also top it off with sauerkraut, and I like the oat honey all over my toast. It's yummy. I'm gonna eat my breakfast now. Looks good, right? So the next step in the bread making is going to be to punch down the dough and put it in the basket. For this one I did use a glass lid so I could see if it is, you know, doubled in size, and that's just a way to save on plastic wrap. So, you're gonna flour your surface. Turn your dough out. Just punch it down. Knead it for a couple more minutes. I always like to work in just the dusting of the flour. It kind of, excuse me, I feel like it almost kind of feeds it a little bit more. Then you want to just kind of drag your dough in and get all those seams that you just made to kind of pinch together. You can pinch them a little too. And then you're going to take your Bantam basket. Mine is fairly new, so I've been flouring it every time. Eventually you don't have to flour it every time, but I just don't see the point in risking it sticking. So then I'm going to turn your dough into the basket. If that's not pinched enough for you, you can pinch it and punch it down into there a little bit. So then I'm going to cover it and stick it in the fridge for the night. The reason I'm going to stick it in the fridge for the night is because A, it's nighttime, and if I let it rise naturally without being in the fridge, it would rise too much if you pass the prime point. Alright, so here we are. It's the next morning. I put it in the fridge overnight. I took it out about 45 minutes ago. And I'm not sure, let's see, I'll get that closer. See all the beautiful little lines here? So then you want to score. And that allows your bread to expand in the oven. Okay, let's see. Let's see what we got. There we go. Hear that? Now it's done. And I'm just going to let it cool off a little here. Get some airflow underneath. And that's that. It's a beautiful little artisan loaf.